Justin Fuhrieman, bringing the fury.
All right,
what was the first concert you went to, Dale?
But I think it's good. Or go ahead, Jason.
No, you go.
So
what are? Yeah, you go.
Were you expecting a pandemic?
I was planning for it. So
good job.
Yeah.
Do you think that coming from that environment really set you up to be successful in this environment?
And so it definitely gave me a great advantage.
What's the best piece of advice just in general?
I feel like coming from
Buckle up. It's the Insurance Dudes podcast.
Boom!
Oh,
yeah.
Justin Fuhrieman, bringing the fury. I already know what the
bringing
the fury.
The fury.
The Fuhrieman.
I'm sure you've heard that a lot. Is that like everybody's bringing
honestly,
the fury?
I think I've had the most nicknames of anybody that I know growing up because it just depends on the group, right? Like you got Fury, you got Furry Man. Like, there's some that I probably can't say while being recorded, but we'll leave those on the side. But so many names, and funny thing, so my middle name's Justin, but I don't know if I should broadcast this. First name is different name that I would consider an old person name, and that was exposed when I started working for a company. Made it 23 years with nobody knowing my first name except for like a handful of people, and then all of a sudden it's exposed. And I joke I'll go by that name when I hit 50 because it's an old person's name. So
now you have to say it.
Is it Winston?
Is it Myrtle?
Winston would be worse. So I guess I'm pretty Dale. So first name's Dale, and nobody
Dale's
knew that
awesome.
for 23 years. And then, Step Brothers, get a lot of nicknames.
I love it.
So there's a buddy of mine that we go way back. He's actually from Iowa, and I met him here in college. And anytime we leave messages on, now I never leave messages anymore, but when we used to leave messages on voicemail, we'd always go like, "Hey, this is Dale down here at the hay shop," and we'd just have this whole thing, but we always started with Dale. So
yeah,
there you go.
Well, you got King of the Hill, Step Brothers, it's out there.
NASCAR,
yeah.
It's freaking great. Dale is
like I said, I'll go by that. When I hit 50, I'll start responding to Dale. And
so you're going to switch it. On your 50th birthday, it's going to be Dale's birthday.
Well, so that was actually one of the bigger nicknames that stuck around. I was on a softball team when this kind of came about. And so they got jerseys, and they basically had my name, Old Man Dale, on the back. And I used to work in this call center, and I would be part of the mentoring group. I ran the whole mentoring group for this call center. And there's this little department over in the corner that all were like the softball team, So I'd be doing this tour on day one for new employees, and we'd be walking around, and then it was just kind of like Finding Nemo, the mine. Like everyone would just be popping like Dale, and so I couldn't escape that one. I had to move 1,000 miles away to Nebraska to my new home, which is where I'm at now, and it's kind of another secret. So until then,
well, perfect. It was a secret.
Right.
It was.
Dale.
So Dale, how did you get into insurance?
That's a great question.
But what about?
Oh, gosh!
Wow!
Darn it! I'm sorry. All right.
What was the first concert you went to, Dale?
Oh, first concert. I gotta go way back to.
Oh yeah.
2016. And I made
that was your first
concert. Yeah.
Nothing when you were a kid.
Nothing. The biggest thing I could think of that might have been close was county fair outside of the fairground. My mom went into Bon Jovi, and this is when I didn't know who Bon Jovi was. So if you want to count that, I have no idea. I couldn't hear but loud banging on music. But first concert was 2016. Went to the Used and Taking Back Sunday, and they were kind of on a comeback tour, and that was the first one. I paid for a ticket and stood in line and went inside to see somebody.
Dude, both those are good. Both those are good. So your first
still stuck on Bon Jovi.
I know Bon Jovi's the best. Yeah. Did you have hair back then?
Back when Bon Jovi was playing, or 2016?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I've been shaved since 2014. So,
Nice.
the ripe age of 24.
Right.
So
Nice.
doing it right. Yeah.
Gosh,
Did you see
I want to do it,
Justin's-
but my wife won't let me.
Do what? Shave
I want to
it?
go. I want a complete shave, so I got a
Pretty
mohawk,
much.
but
That's funny.
It's a good fill.
Mohawk's okay, but bald isn't.
yeah, she just wants something on my head for right now. I guess I don't know.
A lot of people.
It's thinning though.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that their hair's getting a little shaggy right now with not being able to go get it cut. And I offer my barber services all the time, but nobody's taking me up on it. So.
That's awesome.
This morning I was thinking it's a little long. I would normally be going to Kiko. I would text him right about now, and no Kiko. So I may just get the buzzers out.
Yeah,
dude, let's do it.
That'd be a good look on Craig.
Let's start the bald revolution. Like, let's just do it. We don't need to deal with hair
on a coffee talk.
Yes.
Well, looking at your background, I've actually had to think about this a little bit. I don't know if you guys watch like Walking Dead or anything, but I'm like, if it got like that degree and I had to start shaving my head with no razors because I can't go buy razors, I was like, would I be man enough to pull out that knife and do it like you see on the movies,
You would have to go by Dale at that point.
I would have to, yeah.
If you're
hopefully I last longer than the guy in Walking Dead named Dale. So
right. He didn't make it very long, did he?
No.
He was bald. It's like the very first season right there.
Yeah.
Well, so you opened an agency just a few months ago.
Yeah. Late last year, September.
September. Is that the same time as no, you're October, Jason.
I'm October.
And I'm November.
Yeah,
I
met
straight.
Look at that.
Ryan.
September, October. We just got it straight.
Me and him.
We got it straight.
September together.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Cheo.
That's awesome, man. So is that your first agency?
First agency.
What were you doing before?
What's that?
What were you doing before?
Call center. So I have like 8 years of call center experience, did some for DirecTV tech support, learned patience with helping people find the source button on their remote.
Just rip those headphones off.
But a lot of years in call center. So 5 years of call center experience with an insurance company, and ended up working with some agents after that. And through 3 years of spending time working with agencies, I decided that, this is something I always thought I would do. That's why I took the job working with agency owners was, hey, might want to do this. I've had some pretty influential people in my life be insurance agents, like they're my baseball coaches through high school and college. And I'm just like, what are you doing that you're at all these practices and games, like, what do you do for work? And they're like, I'm in an insurance office, down the road. And I was like, well, that seems like a great gig, you don't have to go work. You just coach baseball all the time. That's awesome. So it was always something I thought about. I didn't know what that would be like though for me. And I was in the call center, it kind of bottlenecked for career wise. So it was, hey, let's try working with some agencies, see what that looks like. And basically helped them train their staff. And from training staff, it was a few years of that. And I'm like, let's give this a go. This is a great move for me to have some freedom, hopefully in the future, and, put it on the line and see if it's what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. So we're in the mix of it right now, and we're doing pretty well, I would say.
Were you expecting a pandemic?
I was planning for it. So
good job.
Yeah.
Obviously,
that's where we're at.
Bunker.
No, that's been the challenge, is just what can you not expect for? And, I would always tell people when I was working with agencies, like, you always be recruiting, you always got to plan, like you're a business owner and you got to protect your business. And one of those ways in our small business is through always recruiting and having 5 people that for the most part, you said, I have a job for you when I'm ready, and then that way it's not starting that process when you decide you need it. And much easier said than done, you guys all know it's easy to say that, but that's what I'm learning is my way of balancing everything and being able to execute it right now.
It is a balance, and you have to create these behaviors, because if you don't, then it just falls apart, right? Down into the little micro pieces of the agency, all the different pillars, right? There's the hiring, there's the training, there's the making it rain, or marketing. Why am I missing the fourth one?
Motivate.
There's motivating. I'm not motivated enough to motivate, but we have to be up here as the maestro and really pull those strings so that those things get done. And what can happen, and especially in the spot where you're at right now, coming in, is you can get sucked down into the granular, and then the other stuff falls to the side, right? Because it seems like, whoa, this is a big problem, this inspection. It's like, well, maybe, but there has to be somebody that can handle that, because you've got to handle the other pillars also. And as soon as that balance falls out of place, there's a lot of risk, and we're supposed to be managing risk, right? Because you can say, I'm not going to hire right now. I'm going to put that over here off to the side. I don't need anybody. And you can do that, and maybe it'll work out, but only for a certain amount of time, because it's inevitable that you will have to have somebody new. And if you wait until that moment when you need them, we've all experienced what happens, right? In fact, Jason was just talking about it before we got on here. Bringing somebody on that is just bringing somebody on that is just going to fill the seat is actually going to cost you more than if you had planned and done the right thing. Or maybe it wasn't Jason. Maybe it was one of the guests.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's how I look at it. It's like, if you can make someone if you can get double the amount of work out of one person, it's beneficial for you and that other person, because that other person's going to crush it, right? And then so are you. You're going to keep that person. You're really doing a service to you and your staff if you can create that kind of environment where you're really, giving them the tools to crush it, rather than just sit there.
Too, like knowing their roles too, like having come from a call center, that was something where it's like, hey, can I have my team doing the prospecting, or do I want them quoting and closing? And I think you guys do it better than most, but trying to allow them to be doing those items that you would rather them do, and it's a balance, because you do got to pick up the phone and make the phone call. You got to call your quoted, you got to get them back on the phone, and you got to build your pipeline. You got the golden rule, which is something my team tries to do, is we try to hit those prospecting hours, but supplementing, those extra calls and quotes has been like, that's not something you want to pay my team to do, like just going from that call center environment. That's the last thing I want any of my producers doing. But
well, yeah, the day is filled with 8 hours or 8 or 9 or whatever it is. And it's easy. They're going to find something to do, right? Your staff is going to find something to do, whether that something is prospecting or it's being the most productive, which is they're near the bottom of the funnel, right? If we're looking at it as a sales funnel, they have to be talking to these guys down at the bottom, right? That are going to have a higher likelihood of tipping and being a yes, higher likelihood of being closer to that 30th dial, where it really is going to increase the likelihood that we get a sale, right? And so I think that's one of the really important roles of what we do is helping them with that, because people will feel busy no matter, like I was so busy today. And then it's like, well, okay, but you had 2 quotes.
Right.
What were you busy with? Oh, well, one of the people I sold yesterday called, and then this happened. And, and then you start going in and diving in and inspecting what was going on. And it's like, well, shoot, they were doing all the wrong stuff, and it happens. And, they may feel good that they did those things to help that person. But if we have a divided team where it's, the service team and the sales team, it's so important to inspect that, because I mean, that's a real example that just happened. One of my producers day before yesterday She had one quote, and I'm going, what? I mean, what happened? And well, all the stuff, here's all the reasons, but a bunch of it was her taking on service things from the people she had recently sold because she felt obligated to do it. Okay, well, do I make it a beat her up time or make it a training opportunity, right? And so it's a training opportunity. It's like, oh, okay, well then what we need to do is manage the expectations of the prospect, right? You closed them, they're done. So now what you need to do is say, since you're done, or since we just took the account and routing number, this is now what's going to happen. When you need something, you don't want to talk to me. I don't do that stuff. In fact, I don't even know how to pull up the ID cards. What I do is bring on the clients, make them feel good, and then I toss it over to the people who are really good at taking care of our actual clients. And so trust me, I like you and you're great and you like me, but you're going to love Jazz, or you're going to love, so-and-so. And so setting up and managing expectations is huge. And, it's like what we need to do with our staff and what they need to do with the clients. There's my diatribe.
No, I'd get soup calls when I was in the call center. They'd like, supervisor can do more. And I'm like, I'm the last person you want to talk to. My team does 5 hours or 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. They're the ones doing this insurance work. I'm trying to figure out how to motivate them, how to keep them fun, managing their performance. And you don't want to talk to me. I forget what insurable interest means or whatever, So
do you think that coming from that environment really set you up to be successful in this environment?
It had, because there's always pros and cons and balances, and some people go way far on each side, and I had basically always done the call center, and then I worked and I saw what was present in good agencies, what was present in the non-performing agencies, and was able to kind of piece together the formula that I thought would work for me and my team. And so it definitely gave me a pretty great advantage compared to some people come in with no industry experience. I understood the insurance and the sales talk and the psychology that goes to every word that you're saying, how you say it, when you say it, and there's so many times like we get trained, and the training is never over. It starts and you get told this is how you do a quote, but that question about what has you shopping for insurance or whatever, how you say it and when you're placing it can yield two completely different results. And that's the piece that doesn't ever get trained by, I think, the education people, the people that are in sales, and it's not that they do a bad job, but if you're not in it every day, it's just so much harder. Like when I was out of it and doing more coaching, I was not as good at doing it. So it's being in it and being able to practice and repeat.
Yeah. We I beat it into my sales team's heads, the importance of the needs diagnosing and the questions, with like something like that. What has you shopping? We go even beyond, and it's the last time you did a review, was that in person or was that over the phone? Or even better, we'll say, the last time you did a review with your Geico agent, was that in person or was that over the phone? And so you're catching them off guard in a number of different ways, right? They're like, wait, review? Wait, I don't have an agent. Wait, and all these different things. Was I supposed to? So the idea is to get them, questioning themselves a little bit, or questioning who they have. And it could be Geico, it could be anybody. I just picked that, but no offense, Geico. And but asking the right questions, right? The power of our questions creates the quality of their responses. And it totally shifts how they think about it. And it's important to get them to that place.
The simplest questions too,
Yeah. There is, and Jason, you probably remember this, way back to Preston Schmeedley. The question, he just says, why? And we were role playing yesterday with one of my guys. The guy, he was trying to do a build-a-wall. The guy said, no, I'm not comfortable talking about what's in my checking account. And he went into this whole, but if you do that, he made it all, he overcomplicated. He talked himself out of, there was no way he was going to get this guy to trust him anymore. And all he needed to do was say, well, why? And just wait. There's a lot of power behind why. And then they'll give you some reason that may be BS, and you go, well, but why? And you just keep whying them until you get to the real thing. And it's so simple.
Yep.
But it's sometimes uncomfortable, you know?
We call that peeling the onion in the agency.
The onion.
Because it always starts with, it's too expensive, right? That's always like, or what's the price? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, what's expensive?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
what's expensive about it?
Yeah. Oh, I can't. Yeah. If you keep asking why, you'll get down to the truth, the real reason. Like, what is the real reason?
And you
anything?
can tell if it's a real objection, you know, because so many times it's a scapegoat. And when you can get them to try to explain their rationale, that's when you find out if it's a real concern or they're just trying to blow you off. And, you know,
Totally.
Going through some of the training that I have recently with Craig, you know, being able to get to a short no is something that I think my team has sucked at, you know, like that's like we're like, oh man, we got so many people that we're still talking to from September, you know, and suck might be the harsh word there, but we're all just like, man, that's right. Like we need to get them to telling us no and find out legitimately why, so we can set that follow-up, that X date, you know, like we're not going to win now. That's okay. It's a sales game of numbers, and it's not selling 8 out of 10. It's closer to 2 out of 10. So.
Well, yeah, especially when you're buying 100 leads or 200 leads or whatever a day, and you have 6 telemarketers over here calling and sending them over to these LSPs, and so this whole streamlined process, if we can't move these people into the no column and then talk to them later, then they're just clogging up the pipeline, right, with their indecision. So, you know, the power of that one question, the why must you do this today? I mean, it sounds weird. It's totally uncomfortable. It makes them uncomfortable. But guess what? You get a yes or you get a no. And it's done. And that's what you want, you know? You try to overcome the objection, find out what it is, but you'll get a good sense for it if they're blowing you off. And then that's fine. Move on. And I don't know why it's lack of sales training is why, but we don't like to hear no, or we don't want to hear the no because we think that, well, this was going to be a good one. I don't want to get the no. But it's like, no, there's 99 more behind this one. Who cares? You know, just get to the next one. Because the more you can get to, that's when you get the yes. So, I'm monopolizing it. So,
so what have you done in your agency from the beginning? What did you take from the call center world that you brought into this that really gave you a leg up on high performance sales?
Standard process. I mean, you don't get to in a call center choose how to do your interaction. You know, you're told this is how you authenticate. This is how you set expectations. This is how you go into XYZ of the quote. And it's, you're checked on that. You know, my job when I was in the call center was essentially sit next to my team side by side and take a call with them, you know, grade them on that call right then, you know, and then it was listen to calls recorded so they don't know that I'm doing it on that one, right? Because when you're sitting next to them, you get the best version of them, and you're just like, hey, why can't you do that every time? You knew I was listening, so you're perfect, right? You do that every time, you're going to get results that you probably never dreamed of doing. And that's the thing. Like there's a book that probably molded me more than anything else. One of my mentors and close friends gave it to me when I was in high school, called The Slight Edge by, I think it was Jeff Olson. And it's just like compounding, you know, it's like you do one thing every day, you just don't realize the impact it has till you're so far down the path, you know? And he kind of talks to it in some different ways, like you eat a salad one day, Jason, and I eat a pizza. It doesn't make you healthy or me unhealthy, but what's that result 30 days or a year down the road of that same decision, right? And that's what we don't do over our calls as well as we think we do. And
right, the groove, you know, make the groove.
Yeah. So like that book though, it's like you don't realize it until you're, you know, day 28, 29, day 30 that you are so much further along than what you thought, you know? And that's been the hugest thing is the scripting and being able to do that. Now, opportunity is executing it, right? Like, hey, I got all these things. Like, I don't think we're immune as agency owners from blocking that time and setting that as a priority, and the better that you can do those things, the better I think you deliver your value to the customers.
For sure.
How much time a day do you spend doing that?
I start every morning off with a meeting where we look at prior day results and do a little role play, do a little communication, a little bit, hey, what are we going to do today to make sure we're following our processes, maybe some goals or games or something like that. Then try to hit the middle of the day with a little huddle. So we kind of jump in, listening to a call there, trying to structure that better. And I have one thing at the end of the day with my team called DMAs, different making actions. And so ending the day with updating how many quotes did you do, how many build-a-walls, what do you need to do tomorrow? Like, who are your top 3 people? Like the DMAs kind of, you make those what you need them to be, but they're what's going to make a difference tomorrow. So I try, like, coming from the call center, I'm trying not to micromanage my team, but I understand from my background some of the things I think need to happen every day. And so the blueprint or skeleton that I try to do is we start the morning with this. We have a quick check-in in the middle of the day for where are we at? Do we need to do any course corrections? And then ending the day, and I try to hit 2 power hours with my team, in those blocks. And then the rest of the time, it's like, do what you need to. If you don't have people on the phone or quotes, make some phone calls or, let me know what you think's going to get you there. I have sometimes people say, I want to go do some networking or something. Well, that's great, but quantify it for me, because most people say, I want to go network, but they don't. Like, they're like, I want to do this. It's going to get me more sales. I was like, well, how many more sales, right?
Right.
How do you know? Like if you could break it down, where if I meet with, like, let's just use kind of like business cases, like you got to meet, it's like equation. You got to meet 4 people to get 1 close. So if you're telling me you're going to go meet these 10 businesses during that period, okay, you got my interest. But if you just say you want to go network, then you're not working. I don't know. I just think
clear and specific
isn't fair, it's,
you
got to be specific and have that intention to it, which is that standard process. Like, how do you go from that hello to that close rate?
Right.
Absolutely. So
what are, you go.
I was just going to, from a marketing standpoint, as a new agent, and I think that a lot of agents in all across the spectrum, whether it's, Farmers, State Farm, or any of these other ones that we may know, they come in and they're ill-equipped to really be successful because they don't know vendors, they don't know strategies, they don't know what works in their area geographically, and there's so many different ways to skin the cat. What kind of things have you come in using to make sure that you have adequate workflow for your team to make it happen?
Yeah. Well, I'm like the easiest person to sell something to. You give me a deal or perceived deal and I'm all in on buying more of it. And so a lot of internet leads and anybody that's like, hey, we'll give you price match this, I'm like, cool, sign me up. Let me get some free money from it, because it doesn't grow on trees. And I just started off with pretty much like 5, 6, 7 different internet lead companies, just letting them all come in and tracking those results, which ones are working, which ones aren't. I know the average premium that I've written off of each one and the cost to acquire that per item. And I have some better item acquisition leads, but their premium's like $300 and something. And I have some that are maybe like $20 more cost per item, but their premium's $200-$300 more. So I don't need to go necessarily for the lowest item acquisition. I want the one that's, going to give that, how you get paid. That's kind of the other thing, is know how you get paid and know your roles. A good salesperson, I think, understands that, and they find a way to make that happen. We're in business, and You know, if you go try to sell a bunch of commercial stuff early on in our work, you're kind of getting off the railroad tracks and whatnot. So try to keep it simple with just home and auto leads and measure what's working, what's not. And, you know, 6 months, 7 months, started to weed them out as I learned which ones are working best for us, you know.
So you stick with them. So you have a good, and that's important. I think that a lot of agents eject too quickly. You know, this doesn't work, and we say it over and over again. I feel like a broken record sometimes, but you know, we have to help people understand this, that you aren't going to know how this thing is performing for at least a couple months, and you have to have a process behind it. Otherwise, just don't get them. Just buy mailers, right? Dump a bunch of mailers and then wait for the phone calls, because to work the internet leads, you have to have a very, very airtight process. Otherwise, money just be falling out the pockets, as they say.
Right.
Money be falling out.
Be falling out the
Yeah.
pockets.
But I think
that's
it's
when
good. Or go ahead, Jason.
No, you go.
Well, I was just
I
gonna say,
think
like,
we're on the same path.
I don't consider myself a very analytical person, but I made that comment to my team and they all wanted to throw stuff at me because they're like, there's no way. But, you know, this is like the biggest investment I've ever made in my life. And I did a lot to make it happen. And I don't like making decisions off perceptions, you know, and I would have done that in the past with somebody else's money or lower value items. But like, I need this to be a business, right? And businesses don't just make decisions these days based off of, you know, no data. So I tried to be good about looking at that and making those smart decisions, and smart decisions having enough data within there to know that that's the number. You know, you can get good or bad results early on, and that may or may not be what it's going to be like, you know.
Yep. Yeah, it's to take the emotion out of it, which is so easy for me to do. Making fun of myself.
So what would, like, if somebody wanted to, if you were about to talk to yourself months ago when you first started, what advice would you give to him setting up the agency from what you've learned over the last 6 months?
Ooh, that's a good one right there. Really think hard, I'd say, about what those top priorities are. You know, you have 3 or 4 or 5 things that need to be done each day, and doing a better job at blocking those. I think that got me and my team off to a very great start, and then some comfortability set in, and, you know, some of the things that we would time block and very specifically rally around as a team, I don't think we do as great of a job at now, and trying to just get back to that. And so those things haven't changed, you know, they haven't changed too much since everybody got into business on what it takes, the activity it takes. And it's just easy to find the easy way out, you know. And, you know, we're open. I had a book that I had behind me, but I needed the growth part to be successful for it to work. And so I had my service team, and they took care of that side. And it's like, we have to do these things like we're a scratch agency. And that meant our activity and productivity. And we just had some rules in place around our power hours that we're a little loose on right now. So I think it'd be, what are those things, and make sure to block those and execute them. You know, I would say, like, when I would coach some agents before, I would sit down with them, talk through those processes, and they say, okay, during this time, I'm going to call for monolines, you know? And I'm like, great. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, you're calling for monolines at 4:00. And I would call them at like 4:05, and they would chat with me for 30 minutes. I was like, I was calling for one reason, and that was to hope that you would say, why are you calling me? We just came up with this plan, and I'm supposed to be doing these calls. But how many agents ever said that to me, right? I mean, I didn't have anyone do it. And it's just easy to get away from, but I think that's the level that I'm trying to get back to, but I don't think the whole day needs to be that way, or it's I'm back in a call center, which isn't exactly what I'm trying to do either.
Well, I think from the call center, you probably brought some really good experience in that it's not just, or it's not that it's not, that you're utilizing data to make those decisions, that you look at your sales pipeline and you know that we need a certain number of dials or a certain number of contacts, because it's probably inbound coming from the call center, but we need a certain number of contacts, and those contacts then need to convert into a certain number of quotes, which are then going to convert into a certain number of sales, right? And over time, you're going to have some number that's going to stay pretty consistent, right? And then you can look at this process and know, where do I have to spend my energy, right? If you have a producer and their closing percentage is lower than the average, well, now we have a training situation, right? So, okay, where are we breaking down in the sales process? If it's over here on this end, well, is it with whoever you have calling, whether you have the telemarketers or you have the producers, but just having the right butts in the right seats, right? To maximize the time spent. How is that set up?
Like, how is it in the call center set up that way?
Well, no, like, how have you taken what you've learned from
Okay.
the call center and then translated that into what you do in the agency?
Yeah.
How have you set that up?
Yeah, definitely segmenting the roles, like it's super easy for especially on my team, small team. I have just the one service person, and I handle the overflow and the stuff that the agency owner, reviews, things like that. But the sales team does sales, and that kind of keeps them there. And then there's the telemarketers to help supplement that prospecting for them. There's the different marketing, whether it be some other live calls or some mailers to try and add those additional calls, because with the telemarketing is great. It supplements so much of their work. But sometimes, like, we do enough of it that you get to the people that are ready for the quote, that are ready to make a change. But you can't replace when mailers or something else does work and they're coming ready to decide to buy because they saw your Google ad and they need insurance today, So it's trying to have a couple of those channels, but it starts with the activity, and that can be done at a lot less expense, using telemarketers rather than your sales team, and then having them focus on the talk time and quoting households and closing. It takes the variable out of that coaching within your office. And I don't have to train the talk pass of a telemarketer. I don't have to kind of manage that side. So it keeps it a little bit more in my wheelhouse, where I've done so much in, hey, you got somebody on the phone, you have this 10 to 30 minutes with them. How are you making the most of that? And are you asking for the business? And how successful are you at it?
Well, because there's a huge barrier to entry and costs associated with bringing on a producer, right? They have to study, they have to pass their test, they have to then, take whatever the carrier requires, do all these things. This could be months. And then if you have them doing the job that somebody can be paid $7 an hour to do, all of a sudden you're going backwards, right? And you're using that resource in the wrong place. Like, this person needs to be talking to producers, or needs to be talking to prospects and closing them. That is their ultimate number one activity, right? Is more quotes, and them making 200 dials is not a good effective use of their time. And it burns them out. I mean, I used to think that way, that they needed to do that, like almost like, their pledges, and this is their pledgeship, and this is how they become actives or whatever. But just because that's how I did it in the 1800s doesn't mean that that's the way that they need to do it, right? And I think that it's tough to expect somebody to do that kind of volume consistently. I mean, the power hour is a great idea, and I think that that's good because it shows them hey, this is the alternative, but and they could pick up some wins off it. But doing that 45 hours a week, That's
Right.
how you burn somebody that cost a lot of money to get to that seat.
I think
Yeah,
it's a
and there's-
different day and age too. Like
Yeah.
I mean, at one point in time, you could be a part of it. You could, maybe have a producer and they plug in their network and you could create a lot of sales from that. But I don't think that it's necessarily like that today, at least not in my area. And it's always cool to encourage and start those centers of influence. But I think that you still got to supplement those centers of influence with some sort of traffic. You need to create predictable sales in your office. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So
you can move it like over time. Eventually, that's great if you're like Herrenbrook in Florida, or the glove box guys, right? Where they have, I don't know, however many lenders sending them business, but you cannot scale that situation and have 100 leads come in tomorrow from lenders. It's not going to happen. And so, yeah, it's something to work towards, but then it's another pillar out here that, I guess to Jason's point, paying for that traffic, you get it immediately. In the same way you run an ad, if you're selling flashlights on the internet, you buy an ad, you're going to get a certain number of people are going to hit that landing page to buy those flashlights. And it's the same thing with internet leads. Yeah, most of them suck and most of them don't say yes, but you know what? Some of them do. And that's what you're looking for, right? Same thing. It's all the same thing. It's why you pay a premium to have well, not now, but you pay a premium to have a store at the mall, right? Because there's traffic, right? And it's the same. It's just, yeah. Pay for a premium location for a restaurant. Traffic.
Mhm.
Traffic secrets.
Right.
Well, what I mean, I know what advice
you one we've done today.
Yeah. I know what you would give yourself advice on when you started, but what would you give somebody just overall that you've learned throughout your entire career with call center and with your agency? What's the best piece of advice just in general that you've gotten that's really just helped you mentally take yourself to the next level?
I feel like coming from a background of playing sports and doing baseball at a couple levels, that I'm just competitive, and knowing the score, knowing your number, just super important, whether that's because you're trying to get to the data and the ROI, or you're trying to hit sales goals or operate your business. I think that is probably the thing that you need to dive into, is know exactly how you're going to get there. And then it's the process and execution, I love, like, we have a lot of agents that like to share best practices. I mean, this podcast is an example of it, but it's the execution of what's being shared, and you can't do everything. I listen to podcasts a ton and I hear a lot of stuff, but I can't do everything I hear agents doing across the country. But there have been a couple things here and there that I've taken and trying to execute better and better each day, based off the numbers that I have, on my computer with my Excel sheets that are super messy. But that's why I say, it's kind of just know the number. Know the number and then execute your plan,
There is an equation, and you can definitely get there fairly easily. And I think it's almost like sometimes when you do work that equation, the numbers are so big on the back end when you back it all the way out down to dials, that, or whatever it is, or leads, that you're just like, and I think people just go, never mind, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and hope that something else happens. But it's like, mathematically it works out a certain way depending on where you funnel that cash. So
and going back to that book, that's just like, it molded me more than anything. I think, like, that salad or pizza every day, it's also like, it's easy to do pizza or a salad. Like, that day, that decision is easy, but it's not as easy to do it a week, a month, continuing that. And it's just a daily decision that you get to choose, but so much easier said than done. And
I can tell you, on lockdown, I've been opting for pizza more often, and I think
Right.
it's starting to take
But
its
keep
toll.
a score with that. You know, like one of the things I did take from the call center is like, what are the 5 things that I need to be doing every week? And then I was graded, you know, as a manager on that. Did I hit all my coachings for the week? Did I get all my quality reviews? Did I hit 100% many weeks? Normally not, but did I go from 60 to 70%, you know, one week to the next, you know?
Huh.
Yeah.
So-
How many extra things did you do that week because you had that metric to look at? You know, at the end of the day, it's
Yeah.
like, oh crap, I didn't get this done. I got to push that in. Where normally you'd be like,
Yeah. Forget it.
he's done. No, I love it.
All right. Well, Justin, it has been awesome. It's been good to meet you over the months here too.
Yes.
and chat and it's a lot of fun. I'm glad that you're part of this, and obviously a really good insurance dude.
Appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. This is first podcast I've ever done. I always thought like, hey, I could do a podcast. That'd be cool, you know. Not the top priority at the moment, but I love the information that's shared, and it's cool.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a commute to my office every morning. People are like, are you gonna move down there? I was like, nope, I lose my podcast time. I like that 20.
There you go.
Yep.
Listen, so.
I know that's what I miss. I miss not driving.
Yeah.
I drove today. I only come here on Wednesday to the studio.
To the
bunker?
Studio, the bunker.
The bunker. Yeah. Yep.
No, I appreciate you guys and the invitation. It's been great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome. to
thank
have
you.
Yeah, we'll check in with you down the road here, and yeah. Thank
Cool.
you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Thanks, Desmond.
Bye.
Hey, you've got to check out the Insurance Dudes Inner Circle coming soon, where you get extended interviews as well as live coffee talks in our private Facebook group. Join the mailing list today at theinsurancedudespodcast.com. Hey, thanks for checking out the Insurance Dudes. Hey, please subscribe. We got some really great stuff coming out.